button, and we'll go ahead and do so. So again, welcome to the April 23rd New Grantee Staff Transition Committee, where we'll be having open discussion about what's gone well and what hasn't gone so well for discussion today. So do I have anybody who would like to start? Maybe we can start with the positive. What's gone well for you in this either first year of your grant or in relation to the way your staff has transitioned over time?
Crystal, I'll just start from Boys and Girls Club of the Cedar Valley. We have actually 4 people on this call. So one of the things that we're really trying to do is make sure that all of the committee calls and information are like we're actively partaking in them. We know that that's something we've actually had grants for a long time with a couple of different sites, but we really want to try to utilize these to make sure that the information that we're getting is being spread across all of our staff. So I think that's one thing that's been really positive for us in the last few months, and definitely during the shutdown time, is that we're trying to get more of the information out to all of our staff, just what the 21st Century Grants are, how they work within our organization, and kind of get them a better understanding for everyone from the top, from all levels. So.
Great, thank you for sharing, Chelsea. How about somebody who's not from Boys and Girls Club of the Cedar Valley? And it is wonderful to see so many of your staff on call today.
Crystal, I would like to know who else the audience is. Are we talking clubs or are we talking schools? That just sort of helps me understand who the audience is.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Why don't we go ahead and unmute, and you can introduce yourselves and tell us which site you're from. And at this point, again, maybe this will be the way that you can share a positive that's been happening. So great idea, David. And actually, David, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and share a positive?
Yes. I'm David from the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Cedar Valley. I've been with the organization just under a year, so sort of finishing up the first year cycle of my experience with the 21st Century Grants. The positives are that, you know, with people that are on this call with Crystal and Vic, it's always a easy process to get questions answered, very informative. They work with you. They are very understanding, and that's been very much appreciated during this first year of my transition. I have had experience with 21st Century Grants, but from a K-12 perspective in the past and in a slightly different role. So it's been very nice having people like Crystal and Vic at my disposal to answer questions and provide insight and very helpful guidance.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you. If it's okay with everybody, I'll just call you out kind of how you appear on my screen, if that's okay. And then that way we don't get in that whole no you go type of thing. So Emmy, you're actually next on my screen.
All right. Yes, I'm Emmy. I'm from Boys and Girls Club of the Cedar Valley, as well as Chelsea and David. I am a unit director for one of our sites, currently in transition to a different site. So as we're getting things kind of going there, and I'm trying to get in in my new site, this is going to be good information and stuff to have to make sure I can make it the best that it can be.
Great, thank you, Emily. Chelsea, you've already spoken, but again, if you just want to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, my name is Chelsea Zerback. I'm the Chief Mission Engagement Officer for the Boys and Girls Club of the Cedar Valley, and I'm the one that coordinates all the 21st Century within our organization.
Great, thank you. Tara, I see you next on my screen.
Hi everybody, Tara Notes, Makokata Community School District, and I have the curriculum director there and our special ed director, and support our 21st Century Grant implementation. So I would say just our engagement, student participation, the positivity from the community, and the staff, that was maybe a little bit of a challenge at the beginning of the year with having teacher participation. We had great para participation, but as the year has gone on, that teacher participation has increased. So that's been a really good positive as well.
Great, that's good to hear.
Sorry.
Actually, Carissa, you're next on, so.
We've got a new participant.
Yeah.
I have my daughter right next to me, so.
Hey, that's okay. We're all about kids.
Yeah, so I'm Carissa Maria. I'm at Monroe Elementary with Des Moines Public Schools. I actually started at the end of November, so I'm still getting familiar with everything. I actually had my visit with Vic not that long ago before all of this. So, but I've been as a 21st century partner through the YMCA. So I'm kind of familiar with it a little bit, but now on the other end. So just still getting used to it. Yeah.
Carissa, is there a positive you've experienced in your short time since you've been on in November, and knowing that you've had 2 months before we did this kind of weird break thing?
Right. I just got my session 3 all figured out, and then I was like, oh, nice. Positive was mainly just really getting to know all the new kids and the other partners. So just seeing them and getting a face so that we can recognize each other to continue partnerships is, I guess, positive for me.
Great, thank you. Allison, you're up next.
Okay. I'm Allison Wilson, and I'm from Mid-Iowa Community Action, and I'm the program director. New as well as director since mid-October, but I have been in 21st Century before a long time ago. So, and the positive, I must be on the negatives today. So, but the positive, I would say these are very helpful. And also we have a full service community school grant in 3 of the schools of 21st Century, and that with the staff has been really good in engaging students and families. So
Great, great. Okay, Julia, you're up next. Oh, Julia, you're on mute.
I'm Julia Bruner. I'm with Mid-Iowa Community Action, and we partner with the Marshalltown Community School Districts, and I work with Allison. We have 6 sites, and this is our first year for the after-school program, and I just started in October, so it's all been very new, but the positive is getting to know everybody, and I feel like the webinars have been very helpful, as well as the 21st Century website and the resources that are on there. Those have really helped.
Yeah, good, thank you. And it's always nice to hear that the website is helpful too. We do a lot of work to maintain that. So, Gabby, you're up next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Gabby, and I'm at the Boys and Girls Club of Cedar Valley. I've been there for about a year, and I just started in January with my site at Highland. I'd say the positives would be obviously the kids being engaged, and also our teachers working with us so much and being able to have them there for power hour is probably my favorite part of this specific site.
Great. Okay, thank you, Gabby. Alyssa.
Good morning. I would join you in video, but my new computer's camera stopped working all of a sudden, so sorry. I am with North Fayette Valley. We are a first-year grantee at the Elgin building, and starting off the year, it was really slow and go. We had a few kids and we had some teacher support, but it's been fun to see that throughout the year, our numbers have doubled from the beginning. So that was really exciting. The parents in the community are really excited about it. And it was really fun just before things came to a crashing halt. I was having teachers, at conferences, even though I would send out flyers, they were also endorsing the program too, to help get more families in and get more people in. So it was fun seeing throughout the year, the teachers and the staff come along and build up the excitement with the program as well. So it's been an exciting ride.
Great. Thank you so much. Sally, you're next on my screen. And we have a cat photo bomb. Nice.
Yeah, sorry. So I started in August. I'm with Des Moines Public Schools at Stowe Elementary on the east side. I'm their after school supervisor. And the woman before me, we were in our 5th year of our grant this year. She had it set up really well. So that was super nice. A lot of my families participate in our program. So I've been helping like distribute meals over the past month and being able to see them through that. I feel like I know like a majority of our students. So yeah, that's really positive, and I've had some really great community partnerships and a lot of people like reaching out to me, asking me if they can continue their partnerships that they had previously had. So that was definitely something super nice that helped me out a lot this year, was how it was set up.
Great. Thank you, Sally.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, we have Megan.
I am from Youth Court in Cedar Rapids, so we are a community partnership between 3 organizations here. I would say a positive, I took over as project director in August, and my supervisor was Crystal, and so she left it well organized, and it was super easy transition for us. We didn't have too many staff changes, so it's been pretty smooth since. So
Yes. So, well, I'm glad that I left it for you in a way that was nice, Megan. So,
yes.
so, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for sharing your positives. You know, Allison, I don't mean to pick on you directly, but you said you were maybe in a little bit of a negative mood. Do we want to talk about some of the challenges that you've had? And again, I think it's fair to say that we can all agree that this COVID thing is a huge challenge right now. But please, if there's something that you experienced that maybe Vic or I could be helpful with, now's the time we can certainly talk it through.
I think the biggest challenge we face is working with not our school district working with them, but they hire all the teachers and para or assistants, program assistants, and we have hired the coordinator and myself. So Micah does that part and the school district hires. And so we don't really have when we're short staff, which we've faced that, either not being able to hire or people not showing up. It's just been difficult because it's not us doing the hiring. We got to wait for the school district to post it, interview, hire, and things like that. And so it just makes it more complicated, I think. I've worked in many programs and we haven't done it that way before. So if we're in charge of hiring, we're just right on it and we know who we have. And so that's probably one of our biggest challenges. I don't know, Julia could speak up on that because she does end up having to then fill in as the program assistants, or we're juggling, 6 different schools. And the school district also will say that, their rate of people who call in that day or on any given day is pretty high that people call in. And so it just causes not consistency and things like that.
Sure. Julia, anything to add to that?
No, I would have to agree with Allison. The staffing has been the biggest challenge, and we have 6 sites. So just staffing and being, slim pickings, and so that would be the biggest challenge, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So in hearing that, does anybody else on the call have a tip or suggestion for Allison and Julia to think through? And then likewise, Vic, if you have any input about this as well, please feel free to chime in.
Well, it's from what I'm hearing, it's an unusual situation. Now, we approve an application for a project, and then at the local level, you guys decide how you're going to do your hiring. And so apparently there was a meeting, and that's what was decided. So you may want to make sure that you give this feedback on to, other people in your organization so that they're aware there are some issues, because some of that stuff you guys can change. It's not set in stone.
Well, I think I wasn't part of that, but my understanding was with our the administrative cost. Like I think we couldn't afford to do it, and this was the best way. The school still wanted. I mean, we
Yeah,
all wanted
right,
to
yeah.
still have the service, and this was our way of making it work.
Okay.
But is it working? I mean, it's working. It's just
Cumbersome.
Yeah, because we don't have control over the actual hiring.
Right. Allison, what does your steering committee or advisory committee, do you have a structure in place? What does that look like for your grant?
Our structure, like I said, we have a full service community school grant as well. And that steering committee was put in place. We've done a lot of work in the schools like with Rogers University. And so that community group of people continue to meet and provide guidance. It's been a little bit harder, Marshalltown had a tornado. And then this, and we've had some staff changes, big. So who was in my position previously is now our executive director. I moved into hers. So we've had a lot of just, agency. And so I'd say it's just been rocky. And while we had a lot of school leadership staff coming, that's probably been, just with things happening, dropped off a little bit. So.
Okay.
But I will say this, we do have a good relationship with our school district. It's just you have, their processes and they're busy and they have all these hiring, and then you have us and you have Julia, who is the coordinator. We got to carry this out, and more steps and,
Sure. So I guess one thing that I would just offer, and the reason I asked this question is because the Iowa After School Alliance could potentially be helpful to you in this situation when we get back to normal. We've done some work with other grantees who are, again, have that community-based organization and school partnership to kind of help with the logistical aspects of that. And if that's something that you're interested in, you and I can communicate offline, and we can talk about, maybe what that means is in the fall when things are maybe settled down, hopefully. I'm happy to come to Marshalltown and be a part of that discussion or help facilitate some of those crucial conversations that come up with this. So.
I think that sounds great.
Okay, great. Okay, so sorry, we just had a chat pop up. Oh, yes, Tara, thank you. I'm glad you could join for the amount of time. So anybody else experiencing some challenges you want to talk through today in the group?
Let me just say that challenges are occurring at every level.
Yes, they are.
I'm having some challenges, but
I
we'll get through them.
I would be curious to hear how other organizations are distribute the information to their staff. So one of the things when we went through the introduction, so we've got our finance director on this meeting and then also 2 of our site leads. And we are working to get all of the information to them that they need, but I'm curious of what other organizations share with staff that are working within their 21st century sites. Is there any information? Do you share everything? Do you share parts of it? Like, how do you go about getting the information out? That's just one of the things that we've been discussing. Like, I don't want to overwhelm them with so much information because there's a lot of parts to it and I want them to focus strictly on the programming. But then I do know that some of the financial side of things and other things is helpful for them to at least understand like why we're having to do all the things that we do, the reporting and all those stuff, which is done on a regular basis anyways, but the reasoning behind a lot of it. So.
Sure. Who has some thoughts about that? How do you, especially if you are in a leadership role with your organization or within the grant, how do you share that information with your direct service staff?
So this is my 2 sites here in Cedar Rapids. And we do a monthly staff meeting, myself and then our 2 unit directors. And I just share important information with them then, and then they can ask questions if they have them in between our meetings, but usually the main time that we share information.
Okay. That's great.
I guess for us, we just mainly, when upon hiring our staff, or just trying to engage and get them to come to work for us, that's kind of when we give the mission and just a rundown of it. But that it is a grant, you know, just explaining it, just to have them work for us. So that's about the only time, and then they just see their work by seeing the children and that kind of stuff. And then same thing kind of with partners. That's about the only time I think that we do it. I mean, Sally can probably say a little bit more, I don't know.
One thing I'd like to add is that where we sometimes run into some problems is that our teachers are hired by the school district and then we just retain their services for the program part of the grant. And that's where we have a lot of struggles. Our internal people, we do, I think, a pretty good job of communicating, but it's being able to relay that same information to those people that, yes, we're paying them for their services, but it's sometimes hard. We don't get the opportunities to meet with them like we are able to do with our staff. So that becomes sometimes the challenge. And I think that sometimes our information is not getting to those teachers per se as well as we'd like for it to. And that's what we're looking for, ways to be able to better do that going forward.
I would agree with that, David. This is Gabby, by the way.
Yeah. Julia or Allison, because you're in a very similar situation with being a community-based organization partnering with the school, is there a way that you communicate with those teachers that the district is hiring that you found to be effective?
We actually have a standing meeting with the principals every month. So we communicate at those meetings, anything that's coming up or changes or even positive or negative things that are going on. But as far as communicating with teachers and direct program staff, when able to, I travel to all 6 sites and talk with them one-on-one and do that when I'm able to. So otherwise, a lot of emails are being sent besides that. So.
Yeah, okay. Alyssa, any thoughts about how you work this particular issue up at North Fayette?
Well, we're a lot smaller than most of you out there on this conference right now, but I gotta tell you that I have it pretty good because my husband is the principal of the school. So, I mean, I have a direct line to questions at any time, day or night, and I use that. I mean, and you know, a good thing too is in the program, the curriculum director's son is there. So I constantly have the contact back and forth with the school. And honestly, my staff are school employees that we have. So, I mean, we truly work as if we're completely part of the school, even though we're separate. So we have, just for our little group, we get together once a month and have meetings once a month, but I'm always sending out emails of information that they need to know or just keeping them in the loop on what's going on. So.
Great. So yes, your own personal dream team, huh, Alyssa?
That's right.
Ah, great. All right, any other thoughts about that particular challenge that we want to talk through?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And Crystal, if you could make a note of that question and we could pass that on to our communication committee.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing for them to visit in their next meeting. So thank you.
Hey,
So
thank you guys for all the answers. We appreciate it.
The only other thing that I would add to that is from a meeting notification and calendar invite perspective, just so you guys kind of understand the method to my madness. Clearly, when we have, like, for example, when we have our directors meetings, that calendar invitation or agenda or conference call information only goes to those who have identified as directors. And then I guess I make an assumption that as a director, if you are unable to participate, then you would maybe tap the next logical person in your organization to participate in that call or that Zoom meeting. So those meetings are to, you know, a select list of people, and that's where those go. Now, for like our best practice webinars, because those tend to be more inclusive or more comprehensive across the board for both leadership and direct service staff, I send those out to our entire network, which is a much longer list. And I try to keep that list as current as possible, but I'll just also say this is if you have direct service staff that you would like to be included in those, you just need to simply email me and let me know, and I'll be happy to put them on the distribution list. You're also able to forward those requests directly to any staff that you feel could benefit from that. So for example, on April 28th, when we have our best practice webinar, we have a speaker from Polk County Conservation that's going to be talking about how to best utilize outdoor classrooms or how to develop high quality outdoor learning experiences. While that might be interesting to a leadership level staff, in my opinion, it's probably more directly in line with those who are working with the kids every single day. So your program coordinators, your direct service staff, and so on and so forth. So you can give that information to whoever makes sense in your organization to do so. Any of the webinar opportunities that you might see in, for example, our monthly newsletter or anything like that, again, we kind of leave that up to the discretion of those sites to be able to identify who's best to participate in that. But that's just kind of a snapshot of how my calendar invites or meeting requests work from an alliance standpoint. And then anything you get from Vic, you better pay attention to. Okay, are there any other challenges that we want to talk through as a group today? Okay, so here's the question. Vic just sent out some guidance recently. Does anybody have any questions for him that you'd like to ask on today's call, knowing also that we will also have a directors meeting soon to discuss any of those questions and additional questions as well? And I see you're all still muted.
Okay, here's another thing that I have a concern about. I checked both systems yesterday, the CASA system for school districts and the Iowa grant system for community groups. And I've only had one community group go through and put their stuff in, and I approved it about a week ago. And keep in mind, the deadline is coming up fast. So here's a tip. If you're in the Iowa grants or the CASA system and you get your stuff put in, send me an email and say, hey, I've got everything up there, because sometimes what happens is you forget to hit the submit button, and I see everything else in there, but I can't approve it because you didn't hit the submit button. So if you send me that email, I will check it right away. And I want to, you know, get you guys paid as quickly as possible in this. And if you don't meet the deadline, you might have to wait till fourth quarter. But, you know, you're still going to get paid. And if you don't meet fourth quarter, for whatever the reason, you know, we're going to be doing carryover because of this. However, fourth quarter is your last chance to get any expenses paid from the fiscal year. So you want to make sure that you get those expenses, because we've got January, February, and March that are sent in for this claim period. And if you have any questions, just you know, send me an email or a phone call.
Sure. So I do have a question for those on the call today, and maybe you know, maybe you don't, but is anybody on the call today, are you 100% sure that you are or are not having summer programming?
We are 100% sure at the Boys and Girls Club that we will be having it.
Great.
Des Moines Public Schools, we are not for sure. We're still in the gray for that because they're just, you know, basically week by week right now. So we don't know for sure.
Yes. Does Alyssa, what are you guys planning in North Fayette?
At this point, we don't know. I had asked them yesterday, and the administrators and their admin team had sat down, and they are putting that decision on hold for a little bit longer, just kind of waiting to see what guidance is going to come out with. So hopefully we'll know a little bit more soon.
Sure, thank you. Micah or Youthport, do we know anything at this point?
We do not. We're waiting. We are both, since we're school district, it just kind of depends on if they're gonna let us use the buildings. So
Right,
otherwise we'll
okay.
look at I think so.
Okay. Allison?
We don't have summer programming.
Okay, okay. One of the main reasons I asked that question is because next month's new grantee topic is gearing up for summer and how to approach it from, you know, data collection and any programming support questions that you might have. And I guess I just wondered if it's still a topical question or if maybe we should try to switch things up. So do any of you have a strong opinion about that?
I think we would benefit from it at the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, thank you.
I would add that because I was not here for the beginning of the summer last year, I could certainly stand to hear it myself.
Okay, okay. And again, keeping in mind that it would be good information for any summer, I guess. It's just, it might be something to take good notes on, I guess, for future. So, okay. So folks, we clearly have about 20 minutes left. I don't want to shortchange you, but it seems like the conversation has kind of settled down a little bit. Does anybody have any final thoughts or questions that you want to bring up?
Well,
and we certainly,
oops, sorry.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
You know,
No,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question with the whole summer school thing. You know, how do we let that roll out? Because we are in with the school. So if the school will allow us to use the program, to use the school, we can run. But, you know, with the grant, we're supposed to have the summer program, so, or the 30 days. So how is that really going to work out this summer? I mean, if we can run it and if we can't, don't, or what's?
Well, you're not going to be held accountable because this, the virus is unanticipated. It's like it's a natural disaster. It's like a flood or a tornado had, you know, damaged the building. And so if we're able to reopen the schools for the summer and you can have a summer program, then that's great. If not, then we will carry over the funds for next year. Does that help?
Great. It does. I mean, I would really love to be in there helping these kids, because even though my kids at home, I'm making sure that they're getting their education requirements, and I know that there are a lot of families who are not able to do that. And I really feel that this summer would be a great jumpstart to get them, you know, just that we're not losing as much as having a whole entire quarter of the school year off plus the summer, you know, and I'd really like to help them to get to that fall, but I guess we'll have to see.
Okay. Well, at the department, we've been told to be flexible with everyone. And, you know, on top of that, I'm adding to provide as much support as we can.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And my pleasure.
Vic, just a question that popped into my head, because this actually happened to me when I was a grantee, is we had a situation in which a building was closed and we ended up moving to a different site. If a program is able to do that, how would they handle that process with you?
Good question. That happens every year. And so the arrangement that I made is you don't have to do an amendment. Normally, you know, that would be an amendment because you're serving kids in another location. However, the summer school is generally temporary. And if that, I always ask you to tell me about your summer school in an email. What are your hours? What buildings? And in that email, you can say, we've got, you know, they're doing the floors in building A and we're moving the kids to building B for the summer program. And that notification to me, we can do that instead of a lengthy, cumbersome amendment, because this happens every single year. And, you know, we don't want to have 20 amendments and all that extra paperwork, if, you know, for a temporary situation. Now, if you have a permanent moving the kids from one school to another school because the school closed, yeah, of course, we're going to document that, because down the road, if you have somebody looking at that, we want to make sure that you don't get in trouble with any kind of an audit.
Right. Okay, thank you. So hypothetically, if a church opened their doors and said you can have summer programming here this summer, if the school building is off limits, that would be an acceptable way to use 21st century funds and provide programming for kids, correct?
Well, you also want to make sure that all the parties that are involved on that application have a consensus that, well, that church would be okay, because maybe the school is going to completely do some sanitizing and they you know, it's just not feasible. But as long as everybody's okay with that, I'm going to be okay with it.
Okay. Again, I just wanted to pose the question just to kind of get some thoughts going here in case any of you happen to encounter a situation very similar to that. So, okay, does anybody else have any questions today? Okay, so I would encourage you to keep communicating with Vic or myself. We're here for you. This is our job, right? We want to be as valuable and as helpful to you as possible. Again, I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this call today. Don't be afraid to reach out with questions. And as soon as the recording of this is downloadable, I will get this posted to our website so you can refer back to it if you have a question or perhaps you missed something. So with that being said, I'm going to say goodbye and good day to everybody. Hope you have a great Thursday. It's a little bit foggy here still, but I think the sun's coming out soon. So, so take care. Enjoy your Thursday.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.